Okay, recording. My name is Bobby Vaught. This is lesson number 16 in a series, Everything You Need to Know to Understand Investing. Okay, so I'll put a link to lesson 1 in the description below. In addition to that, every lesson has a link to the next one. So in lesson 1, there's a link to lesson 2, which has a link to lesson 3, and so on and so on and so forth. When I do number 17, then in addition to a link to lesson 1, I'll also put a link to lesson 17 in the description below on number 16, okay? So if you're interested, you go back to lesson 1 and just go through the whole thing. You will understand investing better than 99.9% of the people out there. If you're interested, you should probably hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss any the next lesson, okay? So if you're new to this channel or you just happen to come across this somewhere, go ahead and watch this now if you like, but I would recommend, if you want to go through the whole thing, then go back to lesson 1 and just go through the whole thing. Okay, so this is going to be fairly short. Some of those previous lessons were longer. I'm going to try to keep this short. Hopefully I can keep this to 8 or 9 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm going to try to talk fast and keep it short, okay? So we're going to talk about profit margin. That's the only metric we're going to talk about here. And it's a metric that I probably should have talked about much earlier because it's a really important one. But in any event, so let's talk about how it's calculated. You don't actually have to calculate it yourself. Various websites, usually your broker has it. If they don't, they should. If they don't have it, you can find the profit margin of a company on other places like stockanalysis.com, for example. Okay, so let's talk about you need to know how it's calculated, though, even though you don't have to do it yourself, so that when you look at the profit margin, you know what you're looking at, okay? So gross profit, you have revenue minus cost is equal to the gross profit. It's expressed, all of those are absolute dollar amounts, or pounds, or wherever the company is. In the United States it would be US dollars. So you have revenue minus cost of goods sold, or cost, equals the gross profit. All right, and then you take the gross profit, that number, and divide it by the revenue. It's expressed as a percentage. There's a fraction there, so it's expressed as a percentage, and that gives you the gross profit margin. All right, makes sense? Okay, so one more time, revenue minus cost, or cost of goods sold, gives you the gross profit. Divide that by the revenue, express that as a percentage, gross profit margin. Why is it important? Because the profit margin is one of the most important metrics you can look at to determine the financial health of a company. It'll tell you a lot right there. And I'm going to talk about a couple other things related to that as well. In a previous lesson, I don't remember which one it was, a while back, I was trying to explain why there's no such thing as buy and hold forever. And to illustrate that, I looked up what was the Dow Jones, the companies on the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 1930. And, I went through a few of them in that previous lesson just to illustrate the point. And it was shocking how many those companies don't even exist anymore. Okay, so it's very important to understand there's no such thing as buy and hold forever. In lesson 3, when I was talking about revenue growth and dividend growth and various things like that, and understanding the difference between yield and yield to cost, and I was making an example of how United Health had done real well for me. This is July 5th of 2025. I made that video approximately a year ago. Lesson 3, and I was making an example of how United Health had done really well for me, and understanding the difference between current yield and yield to cost, because they keep increasing the dividend. However, there were reasons that I was looking at that, and I'd had it for 11 years. It'd done really well for me, but there was reasons I was looking at that made me skeptical of it, and I think it was about, I'm not sure when, I think it was about September of last year, 2024, when I sold it. And then the price tanked. So, I got a little fortunate there, but I mean, it was a guess based on, it was an educated guess. I mean, I study this stuff, okay? So, I ended up selling it, and then the price tanked, so good that I sold it. Could it become a buy again? Yeah, sure, maybe. But the point is, there's no such thing as buy and hold forever. Anything. Some of those things, companies that we were looking at, just remember right off the top of my head when I did that other lesson months ago, some of those things that were on the Dow Jones Industrial Average in 1930 were like Woolsworth. Okay, and I don't remember all of them right now, but there was several of them on there that were just like, wow, Woolsworth. Okay, so you get the point. Okay, so profit margin, a very important metric to look at. So that's on the income statement. You don't have to calculate it yourself. You can find the numbers in a lot of different places, but you need to know how it's calculated so you know what you're looking at when you see it. There's a whole bunch of other things that, keep going down the income statement, this, and this, and this. And down at or near the bottom, you'll find the earnings per share. When I see something like a negative earnings per share, I don't touch it. Some people have made some money by being speculative, and the company has a negative EPS, and maybe they think the company's going to turn around, and so they buy it. And if it does turn around, sure, it can be very profitable for you, because maybe you bought it cheap when it had a negative EPS, earnings per share. But that's just not my thing. I don't like being that speculative. It's just the way I am. If you want to do something like that, or you have some information, or you read something, you think this company has a negative EPS, but you think they're going to turn around, that's up to you. Not my thing. That's just me. Okay. And now the profit margin, it needs to be put, that number, you're looking for a higher number rather than lower in this case, and that number has to be put into context with the sector, or the industry, I should say, or the industry, probably a better way to phrase that. So you need to be put into context with that, and then also, in addition to that, don't just look at what it is, look at its direction. For example, in 2021, I bought Cigna, ticker symbol CI, and it did reasonably well for me. Not great, but not bad. I held it for a couple of years. I don't remember how long it was, couple of years maybe. And I noticed the profit margins were decreasing. I mean, it was getting really kind of weird, It was like, it was like 6% and then 5%. I typically don't buy things with a profit margin that low, but that time I did. And it went to 5, and then it got down to, I don't remember what, I think it was about 1% or a little more. And I got very nervous about it. I didn't like it. I sold it. Cigna's still around. I mean, they didn't go out of business, but it just made me uncomfortable. Okay. Some of the highest profit margins right now that I see are in credit cards, at least 2 of them. Visa, where it's about 52% profit margin, and and MasterCard is about 52% on Visa, about 45% on MasterCard. Okay, I happen to have both of them in my portfolio, and feeling very comfortable with them. But there's no such thing as buy and hold forever, not anything, for reasons just explained. I mean, you got to stay on top of things. You could have something for many years, and just something happens, or something's not going well, or you see some changes in things, and maybe you're not comfortable with it anymore. Okay, no such thing as buy and hold forever. I have Apple and Microsoft in my portfolio. Does that mean that my descendants 100 years from now should own it? Maybe. Does that mean that I should still own it 10 years from now? Maybe. We don't know. Nobody knows. In investing, you got to stay on top of things all the time. Okay. Especially if you're picking your own stocks, as opposed to index funds and dividend growth ETFs and things. If you're picking your own stocks, you need to stay on top of things all the time. I look at my portfolio and update all those metrics, every metric on there. The profit margin, all of those metrics that I talked about in lesson 3 and others, updated every week. Over the weekend, I update it, and I look at it and I want to know what's going on. All right? I don't trade a lot. I don't trade as much as some other people. I'm certainly not a day trader. Maybe once or twice a year, there's something in my portfolio that I just go, yeah, it's time to move on. Maybe sell it and find something else not in my portfolio, or maybe sell it and buy more shares of something that I already have. Okay, so you need to understand the profit margin. It's one of the best metrics you can look at to determine the financial health of a company, and understand what you're looking at, how it's calculated, and pay attention to the direction, not just what it is, but in what direction it's moving. Every week, over the weekend, when I update my portfolio, I know what direction it just moved. Okay, so it went from 12 to 13, or from 19 to 18, or, whatever. All right, so that covers profit margin. I tried to keep this short if I could, talking a little bit fast maybe. But in any event, so if you made it through this far in this video, then yeah, I said something that kind of piqued your interest. So yeah, feel free to go back to, I'll put a link to lesson 1 in the description below, and just go through the whole 18 lessons. If you're new to investing, or you've been around for a while and you want to learn more, or maybe you're young and just kind of getting started, whatever the reason, and you want to learn investing, put yourself through a course. If it's not my course, okay, well, somebody else's done. But put yourself through somebody's course, learn something. I had a guy one time, he told me, well, gosh, man, it seems like a lot to learn. Well, yeah, it can be. And my answer to that is, well, you were in college, or if you weren't, you were in high school, and you went through a whole semester with a textbook and had to go through the whole textbook, right? Maybe it was on trigonometry or something, or, whatever. We're talking about money here. We're talking about, the financial health of your life. So yeah, put yourself through a course. Go ahead and take some time and really dig into it and learn some things. If not my course, that's fine, and someone else has done. Okay, so that covers profit margin. That was really the only one I wanted to talk about today, this metric. Feel free to, go back to lesson 1 if you so choose, and just go through the whole thing, everything I've done up to this point, 16 lessons. There'll be more coming. And that being said, I wanted to keep this short if I could. Hope life is treating you well, and hope you have a great day.